Hi everybody and welcome back to the channel. In today's video I'm going to be talking about year 4 and how you can best prepare and support your child through this year group. I'm going to be talking a little bit about the multiplication assessment that takes place at the end of year 4 and more about the curriculum and what to expect if your child's going into that year group. If you like the video, then please give the video a like and subscribe for any more content on primary education. But without further ado, let's get into it. Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Thank you for joining me. This video is going to be about how to best prepare your child for year 4. Just thinking about some of the things that are going to come up during this year group and what information might be useful for you to know. So first of all, this year group, year 4, is the year your child will complete a multiplication tables assessment. This is something that the government introduced a couple of years ago, but due to COVID, last year was the first year that it actually took place. They are assessed on their knowledge of the multiplication tables from 1 to 12. However, there is an emphasis on the 6, 7s, 8s, 9s, and 12 multiplication tables because these have been determined to be the most difficult, and it's not until year 4 that they appear on the curriculum. As you've seen from other videos, in year 2 they learn their 2, 5s, and 10s. In year 3, it's 3, 4, and 8 and 11 that are added to that list. And then finally in year 4, they must know their 6, 7s, 8s, 9s, and 12s, along with the others, for the end of the year. Now, the most important thing is just to make sure your child is regularly practicing their multiplication tables. It's not the end of the world if they don't do well on the multiplication assessment at the end of year 4. Although it is an official assessment, teachers tend to use it for gap analysis and have a look to see where your child is strong within their multiplication tables and which tables they still need to learn. Now, just a quick thing about the assessment format. So essentially, the assessment consists of multiple questions which are randomly given to the children. It's an on-screen assessment, so it's something they would do on a laptop or computer in school, and it's usually during a 3-week window in June each year. I have another video on the year 4 multiplication assessment on the channel, so check it out. Essentially, it consists of 25 questions worth 1 mark each, and they're not ordered according to difficulty. The order is quite random, but it's usually in this format here. So something times something equals an answer, and the children will have to put the answer in the box. Pupils have 6 seconds to enter a response to a question. The 6 seconds start as soon as the question appears. Pupils are able to input their response using the computer keyboard, a mouse, and the on-screen number pad or touchscreen device. If the question is answered, there will be a 3-second pause before the next question appears. Now, as I was saying before, this is just something for you to be aware of so that you know that if your child is going into year 4 and they still don't know their multiplication tables, or there are still some that they are struggling to say quickly, then it's something that's probably a really useful thing for parents to get involved with and help their child with during the course of this year. Other things that are going to come up in the maths curriculum. So, as I said before, the children will need to count in multiples of 6, 7s, 9s, okay, because that prepares them for their times tables assessment. But they'll also need to be able to count in 25s and 1,000, so counting in thousands in year 4. Just like in year 3, they were working with 3-digit numbers. In year 4, they will begin to work with 4-digit numbers, so up to thousands and maybe slightly beyond, depending on your child's ability. One thing that does come up in number and place value in year 4 is rounding. And you can see there it's the 4th point down, rounding any number to the nearest 10, 100, or 1,000. I'll talk about this in a bit more detail in a moment. Solve addition and subtraction 2-step problems. Multiplication division, they'll need to do problems that go all the way up to 12 in year 4, okay? And there you can see the fractions learning that they'll need to be able to do as well. One thing I will say is if you are watching this video, it's a good idea to take notes, just so you can note down some of the key parts of the year 4 curriculum you might want to help your child with, or ask a tutor to help your child with if they're doing work at home. So that's the maths. As I said, I'm just going to rounding in a little bit more detail. So this is the first time that it comes up in school. It's not part of the Year 3 curriculum, but essentially the children will need to be able to round to the nearest 10, 100, and 1,000, and including down here, rounding decimals with 1 decimal place to the nearest whole number. So what's the rule then? So generally in school, the teacher will try and help the children to learn it by coming up with some rule, okay, or they will look at visuals alongside this. But a quick way to get your child to understand it is, if you're looking at a number, let's take the number 34, for example, and you're trying to round it to the nearest 10, well, there's the 10 before, which will be 30, or there's the 10 after, which will be 40. Now, 34, we would look at the number in the ones place, and in the ones place is a 4. Now, if I look down here at this rule, 4, 3, 2, 1, or 1, 2, 3, 4, we say round down to the number before, or 10 before. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, round up to the next 10, 100 on the number line. So the number 34, because 4 is in the ones place, we would round that down to 30. But had that number in the ones place been 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9, we would have rounded that up to the next 10 above, which would have been 40. So this is just something you might want to consider. It's an important thing that's part of the Year 4 curriculum, and it's something that you can help your child to understand as they move through Year 4. Other areas of maths then, so property of shape, something that's new that's included in the Year 4 curriculum. They'll be looking at types of triangles and types of quadrilaterals. Okay, alongside that, identify lines of symmetry in 2D shapes. That's nothing new. And then we've got position and direction and statistics, just looking at line graphs. But they're not that important when it comes to curriculum. Types of triangles and quadrilaterals then, they're going to learn 4 different types of triangles. You've got isosceles, which have 2 sides and 2 angles that are equal. Equilateral, triangles that have 3 equal sides and 3 angles that are equal. Right angle triangles that contain an angle that is 90 degrees, that have a right angle. And scalene, where all the angles and all the sides of the triangles are different lengths. So the children will need to be able to identify these triangles. And then the same again with quadrilaterals. Now, a quadrilateral is just a 4-sided shape. They need to understand that. Quad means 4, like quad bike has 4 wheels. But also that they will have come across a couple of these before. Square and rectangle are examples of quadrilateral. But then we get the new ones added within the Year 4 curriculum. So shapes like parallelogram that have 2 sets of parallel lines. Shapes like a rhombus, okay, which children sometimes mistake for a diamond. We actually call this shape a rhombus. A kite and a trapezium, which is normally seen like this, where we've got 1 set of parallel lines and we've got 2 angles that add up to 180. I'm not going to go into a huge amount of detail here, but just so you know, these are the quadrilaterals and types of triangles children will be taught in Year 4 and will need to know. Moving on then to writing. Now, I've only included this section here, which is the grammar that comes up in Year 4 for writing. And some of the new things that you can see here are a focus on plural and possessive, okay, understanding the difference between something that is plural, where you have more than one, and then using an S for possession, which I'll talk a little bit more about in a minute. Other things we've got, making sure that they understand the subject-verb agreement. So here where we have we were instead of we was, okay, if we're thinking about singular, so if it was I would say I was going to the shops, but if it was a group of us, it was we would use were, so that's something they'll be taught and will need to understand. Front adverbials, so these are phrases that go at the beginnings of sentences. Later that day, they can be to do with when, how, or where, and they need to know that they are used at the start of sentences and are followed by a comma. Punctuation comes in again. It was introduced in Year 3, but the children will need to be using it more, speech punctuation, will need to use it more accurately in Year 4, making sure that the speech marks, inverted commas, go around what is being said, that the punctuation is inside the speech marks, and then also that they use this reporting clause, which is who said it, which can come before or afterwards. So the conductor shouted, there's a comma there, sit down. So in year 4, they will be required to using speech marks and the appropriate clause more accurately. Now we're going to come down to this point. So use apostrophe to mark plural possession. So as I was saying before, they get taught in year 4 something called plural possession. So here you can see a very basic, simple picture that's got some lovely dogs on that explains the difference between the use of S at the ends of words. It's a common misconception. Children are always getting this wrong. Okay, so basically, if you have more than one, then we're just adding an S. So the dogs like to eat bones. There's more than one dog, so we're going to put an S there. However, here, singular possession. So that's where the bone belongs to the dog. So it's going to be apostrophe S. The dog's bone is in his mouth. We've got one dog, and that bone belongs to one dog. So it's apostrophe S. But then in year 4, they're introduced to plural possession, where something belongs to a group or more than one person or thing. So here you can see 2 dogs, and the bone is right in the middle of them. So the bone belongs to both of them. So here, the dog's bone is in the middle. Because this bone belongs to both dogs, it's plural possession. It's S apostrophe. Okay, so when something belongs to a group of people, we're not using apostrophe S, we're using S apostrophe. And here's another example. We've got girls here, and we've got their names. But because there's a group of girls, it's the girls' names with S apostrophe. So that's just something, it's called plural possession for you to look into, but it's something that children will need to know and will be learning in year 4. Reading then, as I've spoke about in other videos, as a parent, you might just want to know what book band your child should be on in year 4. So here you can see from the chart, most schools will have a similar book band chart, but essentially by the end of year 4, they should be, end of year 4 should be on a 12, so a Ruby. Some children may start year 4 on 11, which is Lime, which is fine because that's the end of year 3. But then they should be moving on to Ruby, which is 12, potentially Sapphire, which is 13. And in year 4, they really should be getting to read for pleasure and find books that they really enjoy and not just be taking books home that they have to read, but looking at authors that they really like and really getting into reading for the enjoyment of it, for the pleasure of it. Something else they're going to be taught for reading is the content domains. Now, these are really important because this is what the Year 6 SATS test uses to assess them in reading, and they're going to start to learn about these in more detail in Year 4. Essentially, if you look at them like reading skills, and each lesson, the children should be learning about a different one of these. So 2A is them knowing the meanings of different words. 2B is retrieving information, so just picking out facts. 2C is being able to summarize ideas and putting events in the right order. 2D is making inferences, so saying why characters have done certain things or how they know certain things are going to happen in the story or why they've happened. 2E is prediction. And then these other 3 here, although they are there, they're not as important as the first 4 or 5, okay? And let me just explain why that is. Well, because when they come to do their Year 6 SATs, that will happen at the end of Year 6 for them, you can see here how the marks are distributed. So in the 2017 test, 20% of those marks on the test came from 2A, word meaning questions. Another half of the test's questions, so 25% or over a quarter of the marks, could be gained by simple retrieval questions, so that's content domain 2B. And then a massive, almost half of the marks were allocated to inference questions, 2D questions, okay? So that's those why questions. Here's an example below of a question from each. So a 2A question might sound like this. Find a word in the paragraph that is closest in meaning to, okay? Or find another word that means this, and then they have to search in the text for it. An example of a 2B question, retrieval, would be, in what year did something fact, e.g. the French authorities make it illegal for people to swim from France to England? And they'd have to go into the text and find what the year was. That's a simple fact retrieval question. And then the inference questions would be, In the last paragraph, at X, so X character does not want to Y, does not want to do this, give 2 reasons why X does not want to do Y. And they'd have to go into the text and find those reasons. Inference questions are all about giving reasons and saying why using the evidence from the text. Thanks for watching the video, guys. Really appreciate your support. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, then please do subscribe, as we are approaching 700 subscribers, and also it really helps out the channel. And if you want anything else on primary education, if you need to know anything at all about what your child's going to be doing, please put a comment in the comment box. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. There will be more videos coming up on the channel about your child starting in year 5 and year 6. So if you do subscribe, you'll be notified when those come out. All right, thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next one.